Hi everybody, Sam Martinez here. I'm joined today by my good friend Dave Engelhart one more time. And I do want to address one quick thing. This is actually a snare drum. Yes, it is an end table, but it was given to me by a great jazz musician who passed away a few years ago. He gave it to me, and I just thought it'd make a great table. So I know you've been wondering, so snare drum. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about today, and this is why I invited Dave, because he's an expert at this, as my business mentor, is actually mentoring. It's a buzzword. Everybody wants to be coached, mentored. When I started Blu Sky Coaching, which is now Blu Sky Benefits, was for the purpose of giving that extra bit of help in finances and in advising. But this word mentoring, there's been so much buzz about it, personal mentoring in the business world especially. But there's some misconceptions of what mentoring is or is not. And so, first of all, to give another quick introduction, Dave, you were president of Saint-Gobain for a number of years.
Certainty Gypsum.
Certainty Gypsum.
Which is a division of Saint-Gobain.
Gotcha. And that was a U.S. division here.
Yes.
And so I know that as a president, you had many people underneath you, but you also answered to many people as well. And so raising up good leaders was critical to keeping the organization going. So from a business perspective, how did mentoring fit into your business model?
Well, our company was very large, multinational. We had about 200,000 employees around the world and a lot of different divisions and activities. So developing people was a very, very high priority for us. And we had some formal mentoring programs, but we also had informal mentoring, where people would just come up and say, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about something," and that quite often would turn into a short-term mentoring discussion, or maybe guidance into suggesting they talk to somebody else that would be better suited to help them with their issue.
Gotcha. So I'm glad you mentioned both, the informal and the formal. From a business perspective, why don't we talk about formal mentoring for a second? What were some of the formal mentoring programs that you guys had?
Well, I think we had programs for new people coming in. We would hire a number of new college graduates out of good schools for management, technical, marketing, different areas like that each year. And then we also had people that we had hired that were becoming high performers and were really showing that they had a lot of potential. So we had a formal program that we would mentor. This was in the United States, that we would mentor a number of these in a formal program every year. So they've got some training, some leadership training, but they all each had a mentor that was assigned.
Okay.
So that was a case of picking high potentials, and it was really all about helping them to perform better, helping them to grow in their workplace.
Gotcha.
And the mentors were chosen basically as people who had a track record of mentoring, maybe even more on the informal perspective. Other times, another formal approach is often when someone would get promoted to a new position, maybe a first-time manager. One person I mentored was a first-time vice president, that the roles were much bigger, and all of a sudden you're managing people that used to be your peers. Those sorts of issues. That's a very, very difficult transition to go through, and to have a mentor that will help you deal with your specific issues in that, and to challenge you is very important. So backing up a little bit on what mentoring is, along with that, whether it's formal or informal. A good mentor is someone who challenges somebody. Very important that they're basically a mirror of, they're basically playing back to the mentee how they're handling situations, so that they can learn from them and coach them through that and challenge them. And so that's really, when you talk about what makes a good mentor, that's what it is. But the other piece is, the mentor should never, ever forget that the issue is, it's always about the mentee.
Yeah.
It's not about the mentor. It's about helping the mentee learn, move through whatever it is that they need help with.
So a mentorship relationship, it can be a long-term relationship, but it really is more topic specific. What does that mentee need to get to that next level of that one thing that they're dealing with, like management or.
I believe that this formal program is for a year, so there might be 2 or 3 issues that we would want to deal with. But basically, the mentor-mentee relationship should be very purposeful, and it should have basically time frame and specific time frame type goals in that you can actually work through and achieve. You may want to continue on after this time frame with the same mentor, although I very often propose to mentees that they go find someone else, because each mentor has different strengths. And if you're going to train for a marathon, for example, you don't go to someone that's going to teach you how to cook.
Yeah.
You go to someone who can teach you, has run marathons, and so that's what you want to do. And each person has individual needs that need to develop. So matching that up is very, very important.
Yeah.
So it is really critical to me, though, that you really basically have a commitment up front. You basically do a little bit of a contract and say, this is what the issues are, issues. Here are the goals that we agree, and every 3 months or something at the longest, have a goal within every 3 months that you could talk through. A mentor relationship to me shouldn't be much more than a year. And if it is more than a year, then you should start over with a new set of goals.
Correct.
But it needs to be something that you really get value out of.
So from the mentor, speaking of mentors, a good mentor is somebody who, for a particular mentee, is one definitely who has the power of experience. Like you just mentioned somebody who is training for a marathon. You want to talk to somebody who has run several marathons who can tell you exactly how terrible and what a dumb idea it is to run a marathon. I did one, never again. But in the different stages of it, can actually speak from experience, but as well that they have at least some kind of certain personality acquaintances with this other mentee, so that they have that common ground. How important is that as opposed to the experience piece of it?
Well, I think that you really need to be able to connect. And I know in one case, actually it was 2 cases, that I was asked to take over from another mentor in this formal program. It wasn't that the other mentor was not a good mentor, there just wasn't a connection there. And the mentee raised their hand in the program and said, I've met with this person for 3 or 4 times and I'm not getting anything out of this. It's like they're not hearing what I'm saying and I'm not hearing what they're saying.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. And just like, you choose your friends based on who you connect with. And so it's the same sort of thing. But trust is a very, very important element of a mentor-mentee relationship. And if you don't establish that kind of trust, you're not going to be the mirror. You're not going to be able to effectively challenge somebody. They're not going to believe what you propose and what you recommend. I've had mentors tell me, well, I think they've got a problem. I don't think their problem is what they think their problem is. Well, that gets nowhere for either one of them. So you have to work through that. So that trust is very, very important.
Yeah. And on how to establish an informal mentorship, this is something that actually Stephanie, who is recording right now, asked, and I think it's a very, very, very valid question, is that mentoring, obviously in a business scenario that is more formalized, is for very specific goals. But it should be the same in your personal life. For instance, if I want to be a better athlete, then I should be self-aware enough that I need help. And I should go to a professional or somebody who is better than me and ask them to evaluate me, to be that mirror. So I think it first starts with that self-awareness. But the question is, how can we establish this? And not only has Stephanie, but other people have asked the same question. Well, I really see the need that I need help with parenting, or I need help with my finances, or I need help in some particular area. How can I approach this person to be, a mentor to me?
Well, I would say, first of all, I think you've got it right in that that the mentee, someone that has an issue and is looking for help, they should always approach the people to be their mentor. Okay. It shouldn't be the other way around. I'm not really a fan of mentors looking for somebody to mentor. Yeah. Because that's usually that it's not about the mentor. In that case, it's not about the mentee in that case. It's about the mentor. So that's an important piece. But I think recognizing that you have an issue, you will actually honor a person if you go to them and say, look, I've got this problem and I've kind of been watching you. I'm wondering if you could either, we could have a coffee, let's talk about this. Maybe you can give me a little bit of help on this. Now that person may not end up being your mentor. They may say, here's someone else you should talk to that I think would be really good for you, but they may be. Mm-hmm. But you would actually honor that person by going to them and saying that. And I never run into the situation where people say, don't bother me. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And I have done, like I said, formal mentoring, but I've done informal mentoring. And during my career, I've mentored at least 50 different people, and different, from everywhere from entry level to VP level. And every case they have come to me, and word of mouth is partly. If you got, why don't you go talk to Dave, because if he can't help you, he probably knows somebody who can.
Yeah. And
so forth, and that's fine. So to me, those were the conversations as being a mentor and interested in mentoring. I would go home at days, and we may have closed a big deal over here, or may have solved a big problem in our plant, or may have set a new production record or something like that. Those conversations with people to help them with the career was what really they were the high points of my day.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you, it hasn't happened to me quite as often. It's happened to me a little bit more. But one of the joys in my job, or just in general, is the people I meet. Obviously, I mean, life is about the relationships that you get to enjoy. Of people coming and just saying, Sam, I need your help. Can you give me some advice here? That is one of my, obviously a lot of it has to do with the financial world or music world or something like that. But it's amazing. Yeah, it is an honoring thing. And so I agree with you. I mean, by the way, that's how I approached Dave. I was like, Dave, I'm going to buy you coffee. Help me out here. I got these situations in my business, and I know that you can help me. And it's been a wonderful help to me. And that's something that other people have told me, especially in the world of sales even. We can feel so much that it's all about making those relationships so that you can get something out of it, so that you can get that connection, so that you can get that sale. I found the opposite to be true. I can't stand that whole sales cycle. And, I've been doing this for a long time too. But what I absolutely enjoy doing is getting to know people. And so when you actually ask somebody for help, it's amazing that nobody ever refuses. Now people are busy and they might say, well, not right now, but hey, give me 3 weeks and, we'll meet for coffee. But if you actually genuinely ask somebody for help, they're willing to help. And that's what I have found. So I think probably the best informal relationships, in mentoring are actually even better than the formal ones. When you see that, hey, this guy has something, this lady has something, that experience that I need, and ask for the help, humble yourself, and actually just say, hey, can I buy you a cup of coffee?
That really works.
So the power of mentorship. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.